I don't know about you guys, but this new moon hit me so hard, like smacked me across the face and said, "You're not listening." And I was like, "But I'm trying." Uh, and yeah, so that's the story of what my last couple days have been. Oh my goodness. Okay. Very emotional, very emotional. Pisces really hit this time. I often forget how many Pisces placements and things that I have in the 12th house. And every time Pisces season comes around, I'm like, oh, got it. Okay. So this week, Pisces taught me a lot about boundaries. Boundaries that you set so that your energy doesn't go out to people who don't deserve slash who you do not want to send energy to, and boundaries so that you do not absorb other people's energy. So this is going to be a very like Pisces slash esoteric episode, so if you're into that, stick around. And please remember that all of this needs to be grounded and integrated and understood. This is all information unless you take it and integrate it and learn it within your body. At least that's how I process information. Okay, so just recently, within the last month, I've started implementing a practice in my morning meditation where when I wake up, I do my meditation, I do like a scan of the like grid around my house that I have put up for as a protective barrier. And I didn't really, and then I do the same for myself, and I didn't really realize that I needed to add into this practice not allowing my energy to escape or my energy to flow out. I need my energy to process and live my daily life. So if I have energy leaks, where like my energy, if I'm frustrated at someone and my energy is going to them, then I'm draining myself at my frustration, with my frustration. So boundaries can be really important in the sense of like not letting energy in and also not letting energy leave. So I've started to add this extra moment of thought in the morning to not only reinforce I will not absorb other people's shit, basically, but also like I do not want to be sending energy that is dysregulated out to others. So a boundary is being put up so that I keep that energy, process it and ground it, and like figure out how to heal that so that I'm not sending my like reactionary frustration out to others, because that is doing others no good. So that is something that I've worked with this week quite a bit. A realization that I've also had this week, which has been kind of a long time coming, and really related to where my personal astrology is at right now. But this Pisces new moon was a lot about how we're interacting with our relationships, whether it be a boss, a coworker, a partner, friendships, like whatever it may be. And something that I noticed within myself is I still have this deep need that feels like it wants to be chosen, taken care of, and protected. So this manifests in me longing for other people's affection or attention, and it feels very harmless until it gets to a point where it's like in my own body, I'm like, I just want them to see me. I just want them to acknowledge me. I just want them to love me, you know? And it comes from, in my experience, from my childhood where I didn't really have my needs met in the way that I needed them to be met. And I think that a lot of people potentially like have this similar wound in my generation because if you didn't receive unconditional love as a child, and love was had these barriers of like, you need to get good grades in order to be loved or appreciated. You're only good enough if you do this. You're only allowed to go and do that if you do this. Like, there was always a condition, and it's like, you are showing too much emotion, go to your room, you know? Like, if you do that again, you're gonna get kicked out of the house. Like, you can sleep outside tonight if you want to do that. Things like that, specifically for me. And that has put conditions on how I see love. So when I perceive someone to be withholding love from me in any type of relationship, I start to freak out. I start to try to people please harder. I start to try to earn their love. I start to want to persuade them to love me. I want them to see that I am capable of being loved. Like, you should love me. And obviously that's really intense. And it's funny because I'm in this moment of, I've been looking at this for a while from a different perspective, and the triggers that are coming up for me in February were very much about learning to love myself. And I have been working on that for a long time now, but it was made very apparent that I'm not quite at the point where I really believed it. I was kind of in the faking it till I make it phase, right? And so with this interaction that I was experiencing, this other person seemed completely disinterested. Completely disinterested. But I was convinced I should try. I should be like, hey, like, don't you see? Don't you see how lovable I am? And yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't do anything super loud, and I kind of just processed it internally, because I feel like I was coming from a really frantic state, and it took a lot for me to be like, you need to just chill, process this, and figure out what to do next. But what's happening next is not happening now. And so I did a couple like new moon rituals, I did some like detachment rituals, I did some self-love rituals, and one of the things that I wrote to myself in as a poem type thing was that I'm really into animism right now, which is essentially the belief that everything on this planet is alive and a part of an organism that is Mother Earth. And all the animals, all the plants, the wind, the earth, the sky, the trees, everything is like a living, breathing representation of whatever source or spirit is. And so in a part of my poem, I am trying to like figure out the longing for the love that I wanted from this other person was actually the love that I have been longing for my entire life from other people, because I had love withheld from me when I was younger, and I wasn't shown how to fulfillingly love myself. And that is something that I'm on like a 2 year plus, lifelong journey. But for the last 2 years, that's been my focus. And I'm so grateful for this reflection in my life, because it made me write a poem about wanting to be reminded of love in the way that a bird flies, and in the way that the bird sings, and in the way that the tree moves in the wind. And I was really not in a great place yesterday, and I tried to record this video and I just like couldn't figure it out. I might end up doing like a blooper of like every time I messed up or like looked at the sky and was like, this fucking sucks. Just because I was really struggling through it. But 24 hours later, I'm recording it again, and having gone through an entire day of just like sitting with and processing. And I saw a hawk on my way home, and I was reminded of how much I love myself and how much work I have done and how much I have practiced and practiced and practiced, like showing up for myself. And I thought that was really beautiful. Recently, a lot of what I've been focused on, looking at and kind of like digging through the file cabinet and examining is like autonomy, like personal authority, authenticity, and these things are really important for me and always have been. And I often find myself asking questions or thinking things that other people have never thought of in their life or would never think to think. And I'm always curious, like, why do I have such a like an incurably curious mind? And I think part of it is that if we are going through a mass awakening, which I don't know. I mean, I feel like people have been talking about that for like the last 15 years, so I don't really know what's happening, but I do notice a lot more people in my life have wanted to have these more esoteric conversations about like what is life, and it's kind of a little bit more of like a kind of like a joke, in the sense of like everybody kind of like, I know, I think about that too, right? Of course, I feel like that's still a very small amount of the population, but I'm seeing it more and more. And I think one of the things that I have always kind of lived by is like, I want to know why we do certain things. I want to know why we have to do this. I want to know why we have created this system where we have to sacrifice our time in order to have shelter or to have food. Like, in my brain, that just seems crazy. And I'm like, why does our system function the way it does? And of course, I have no answers, but how can we, within the constraints of this system, still live with authenticity and autonomy? And it's something that I've kind of been pondering for a while. And I don't think I really have an answer. Maybe this is just me bringing up the question for anyone out there that wants to help me dive into answering it. And I don't know if there even is an answer, but I want to know what source or spirit is. I'm really into listening to different religious podcasts and diving into different theologies and mythologies and truly trying to discern what truth is. And I don't think there is one truth, and I think that's part of it. Like, I don't quite believe in any monotheistic or Abrahamic religion. I think parts of it are beautiful, but something about the rigidness of, if you believe this, you can't believe anything else, just kind of like freaks me out a little bit. I remember I was at a retreat as a volunteer, and I was reading a book about an author wrote about past lives. I can't remember the book, but the author was Barbara Hand Clow. And the main guy that was like in charge, like the one that everyone was kind of like looking to, or were perceiving as like a guru type figure, came by, and I was just sitting at a picnic table waiting for my volunteer shift, and he told me that I couldn't read that. And I find this strict, controlling archetype within like organized religion to just be, well, definitely not for me, I guess. But it's made me think, like, how are other traditions, like animist traditions, like, how is that more inclusive? And like, I think, is there room for all of the different perspectives? And of course, like, I'm literally just a human in my house talking to a camera, so I don't have the answers. But I find it an interesting thing to philosophize about. And I'm finding myself more and more just kind of like going from one and like learning another and believing in that for a little bit, and then learning something else and being like, oh, interesting. Like, I feel like those two things go together. And I think for a long time I was worried about kind of like not having a good foundation to work on, and just had like all of these like empty rituals or empty mythologies, in the sense that like I didn't have like in an Abrahamic religion, like you have the family, the church, the people to talk to, the community, like you have all of these things, the ritual, the showing up and gathering and the praying and all of these things that create a really big foundation for your practice. And I've never had that because I've never been a part of a dogmatic religion. But part of me for a while was like, that's not good, right? Like, there's nothing grounded or foundational within that. And I think part of me stepping into my authenticity and like realizing that I'm different and understanding that I'm different, and realizing that I am an individual in society where I want to just inherently be the happiest, not even happy, but just like the best version of myself. And when I fuck up, I want to be able to honestly be like, whoa, I just totally reacted. I apologize. Like, I was totally wrong about that. Like, I want to be able to have this, like, ability to think something, change my mind, think another thing, change my mind, react, apologize, idealistically not react the next time, and just continue to work on myself and be the best person that I can be, so that in every interaction I can be a like clear reflection for the other person. And I feel like I'm at this place where I don't really want to do art. I mean, I do for myself and for the fun of creation, but I'm not as like dependent on it as a source of daily fulfillment. And I don't have this like clinging to needing creating art to exist or to regulate. Because I think I realized that I was really using it to regulate my nervous system. And when I started my art business, it basically attached art to my stress. And then that related to my nervous system. If I had a bad day, or if I hadn't done art, or if I didn't sell enough art, like my nervous system would just get out of whack. And I think that's part of why I don't want to focus on art right now, because it feels almost as if I make art that I don't like, or I'm not being commercial enough about it. Like, I think maybe it was 2 videos ago I was just talking about how I don't want to commodify anything. And I've just been continuing to think about that, because I don't. I don't want to start a business. I don't want to start a side hustle. I also don't want to work for someone else for the rest of my life. But I'm in this moment where I am actually happy to be of service, in the sense of I'm focusing on myself. I'm focusing on keeping my mental health up to par. I'm focusing on tending my garden. I'm focusing on tending my house, my sanctuary. I'm focused on meditation. I'm focused on philosophy. I'm focused on my like learning, my seeking knowledge. And within all of that, I'm showing up to work and I'm being of service. I am helping in any way that I can. I am exchanging money for that experience of me showing up, but it's not coming from a place of like, I'm just here for money. It's like, I understand that I am helping this business achieve their goals. And I think within that, it's just really discerning who I am showing up for. I often find myself in situations where I will work somewhere and enjoy the vibe, I'll enjoy the interactions with others, and there'll just be a day where I know that it's time to move on. And sometimes I stay past that, and sometimes I don't, and then sometimes I'm externally forced out of that. And or I move or something like that. And so I find myself being more and more okay with that, because if security is never going to be a constant, like, I don't know if security is a real or a false thing. I have never known financial security. However, we live in a world that wants that. Like, our society wants no one to feel financial security. And so in my lack of desire to just like start a hustle, to like start another business and like hustle, 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 I'm so tired. I don't want to do that. And so there has to be a reason that I'm finding myself chopping wood, carrying water, and philosophizing. There's a part of me that wants to just continue to be of service in whatever way that I can. Like, I want to keep just chopping wood, carrying water, living every day as a new day, being in the moment, interacting with others, and watching the interaction and be like, "Whoa, that was an interesting vibe I just felt. Was that coming from me or was that coming from you?" And kind of just like seeing everything as it's happening. And I think this world has a lot that needs to change, but I don't know how to do that. And I've been trying to figure that out for the last, I don't know, 15 years, and have never really come up with a good answer. You know, I don't think utopia is a possibility, but I think that a lot can change if we just start to understand that people pleasing is sometimes hurting others. Like, showing up inauthentically and helping somebody because you feel like you need to help them is like stopping them from the ability to say, "Oh my gosh, like, if you're not feeling up to it, then I will happily do that." You know, I think, okay, so I was listening to something and have heard people talk about, like, have you ever heard people in a relationship or somebody talking about a relationship and they are like, "Oh, I really need to break up with my girlfriend, but I need to wait for the perfect time because she just went through this thing and like I just feel like I can't break up with her right now." And I'm just like, how painful would it be to have a friend that didn't want to be your friend anymore but was afraid to hurt your feeling? Or how hurtful would it be to know that your partner was with you for 2 years after the day that they decided that they wanted to break up but they just couldn't, and they were just staying in the relationship because they thought that that was the best option, not because they loved you but because they didn't want to be the bad guy and walk away. And I don't really know how that circles back to what I was just talking about, but I think I might call it there because I think I almost just went off on a tangent. But more to come. This week was a little bit scattered thoughts and lots of emotional feelings to process and a lot of like relating to other people and such. But I think if we all just focus on learning how to show up for ourselves, be truthful with ourselves and others, and really truly find a way to understand what it means to be present in the moment and to act with authenticity every time we are doing an action or interacting, I think we would see whether or not it's a big change, it's at least something. So please like and subscribe if you liked this video, and come join me over on Patreon. I really want to start doing a new moon and a full moon live, like meditation-y kind of space where people can just pop in and like find community. So I'm hoping to start that with the next full moon, which probably will be in Aries or Pisces. Is it going to be in, I don't know. What's the opposite of Pisces? Virgo? Is the Virgo full moon next, or is it the Libra full moon? To be determined, because I don't have a calendar in front of me. But I hope you have a beautiful week, and I would love to hear what kind of things you guys are processing right now.